And now, the last category of this, Blake, is going to be, of course, our fight of the year. Possibly the most important. I argue I left this for the main event slot because I believe fight of the year is the most important award out of the end of the year awards that we give out. And so I have three very obvious and very deserving fights for this. The first one is going to be the aforementioned Davison Figueiredo versus Brendan Moreno at UFC 256. This was a majority decision draw, had 286 total strikes in this one, and really, we kind of talked about this after the fight. They put on the greatest fight in UFC flyweight or any MMA flyweight division fights ever.
Yeah, most entertaining for sure, no doubt.
And it was
At least from the ones that I've been exposed to,
right, and then also for
not even close.
for Figueiredo going to be hospitalized like twice before the fight and still put on that performance. It was a absolutely crazy fight. There's nothing else you could say about it.
Warrior.
The
That's
next
what it is.
what? Oh yeah, is he like God of War anyway? So hey, nickname checks out. And then our next nominee is going to be it for the fight, the main event from UFC Vegas 4. That's going to be Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. And this was Dan Hooker really putting himself on the map. Dustin Poirier showing that he still has it. And we had 390 total strikes in this one. It was a very close fight, as well as we had two 48-47 scores, one 48-46 score. And this was nothing less than a 5-round slugfest, and it was amazing. Not sure what else to call this.
Yep.
Of course, the last nominee for this award is going to go to, you guessed it, the UFC 248 co-main event, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Zhang Weili. And this had 366 total strikes, 351 significant strikes, which is the third most ever in any UFC fight. I believe that's only, the leader is 400. And I forget the scrap with that one right now. But it's the most ever 351. It's the most ever in women's history. Actually, I remember the 400 was the Brian Ortega Max Holloway fight a couple of years ago, which was
It's a rough one.
just crazy fight in its own right. And then this, of course, was a really close split decision, 48-47 from two judges to Weili, of course, who defended her title. Then 47-48, they gave that one to Joanna. And no scorecard for the points of the rounds was the same in any of the three judges' scorecards. Okay, that might be an argument against bad judging, but let's not get into that now. But and the only really knock I have for this fight, Blake, is that it wasn't the main event. The main event was that Adesanya Romero fight, which all we know so well. But out of these three nominations, Blake, who is your fight of the year?
This is another hard one. For me, it was really only between and Joanna Weili and Hooker and Poirier for me. I ended up giving it to Hooker and Poirier though.
Really?
I really don't know why. It was probably because I watched that one live. I had to go back and watch the Joanna and Weili one, so that one didn't really hit the same, I don't think. But the Poirier and Hooker one, I mean, those guys are savages. They were just coming back and forth at each other all freaking night. And I thought there was no way in hell that, one of those dudes weren't getting the lights turned off. Definitely one of my favorite fights of the year, probably the favorite for sure. Figueiredo and Moreno were coming up real close up until that fifth round. And then the fifth round, they kind of just lost it for me, which, like I said before, it's totally fine. They did enough before then to completely satisfy me that night anyway. So yeah, I think Hooker and Poirier left it all out there on the table, and same with Joanna and Weili. But I just think maybe it's because guys hit a little bit harder or something. I guess I don't know.
That's fair. But for this, just with how I can't remember the last time, like I was just absolutely captivated by this fight. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I was so drawn in, and I couldn't look away because the damage that was going on, especially, I mean, don't mean to don't want to sound disparaging, but you don't really get this kind of slugfest from most of the women's MMA fights. But for what these two champions in their own right were able to accomplish on this night, being the greatest UFC women's fight of all time, arguably the greatest women's MMA fight of all time. Seeing this, I have to give fight of the year to Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Zhang Weili, because they really just left a part of their body and their soul in that octagon. And especially, man, that hematoma on Joanna's forehead was
had her looking like a Star Trek character.
right? Looked like an alien, which is, I've never seen anything like that before. But this fight was hands down one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in my entire life. And although Poirier and Hooker, very good in their own right, Joanna and Weili really just kind of get the edge in this one, kind of like a fighter of the year. The fight of the year is really close, but I have to give it to Joanna and Zhang Weili.